Oh, this is beautiful. This is absolutely poetic. You're sitting there right now, watching them parade around in a costume made from your skin, wearing a mask carved from your innovations, speaking words they stole from your mouth when you weren't looking, and for a while it stung, didn't it? For a while you felt violated, robbed, gutted like a fish while they walked away with everything you built, everything you created, everything you poured your blood into when nobody believed it would amount to anything. But something's shifted now. Something's clicking into place. Because you've noticed what I've noticed. You've seen what's happening to them. They took your blueprint, your formula, your entire playbook, and they ran with it like they discovered fire. They announced it to the world. They repackaged your genius in prettier wrapping paper and slapped their name on it like they invented oxygen. And everyone clapped, everyone celebrated, everyone looked at them like they were visionaries, while you stood in the shadows wondering if reality itself had gone insane. But now the cracks are showing. Now the foundation is crumbling. Now the thing they built from your stolen materials is starting to collapse in slow motion, and they can't figure out why. They followed every step. They copied every detail. They replicated everything they could see, everything they could touch, everything they could measure and quantify. So why isn't it working? Why does their version feel hollow? Why do people engage with it once and never come back? Why does it look right but feel wrong? Because they forgot something. They forgot that what they stole was just the visible architecture, the scaffolding, the parts you let them see, what they didn't get, what they couldn't steal, what remains locked inside you like nuclear codes in a bunker they'll never breach. That's the secret ingredient. And without it, everything they built is just a beautiful corpse. Impressive to look at, maybe, but dead on arrival. You want to know what the secret ingredient is? It's not talent. Talent can be developed. It's not knowledge. Knowledge can be acquired. It's not even creativity, because creativity can be sparked by the right circumstances. No, the secret ingredient is something far more dangerous, far more irreplaceable, far more impossible to counterfeit. It's you. The specific alchemy of your pain and your survival. The particular formula that only forms when someone has been through what you've been through and refused to let it destroy them. The frequency you emit that can't be copied because it wasn't learned, it was forged. In fires they've never felt, under pressures they've never experienced, through nights they've never survived. They copied the recipe, but they don't have your specific burns. They replicated the structure, but they don't carry your specific scars. They mimic the output, but they can't generate the energy that comes from your specific journey through hell and back. And that energy, that invisible force that pulses through everything authentic you create, that's what people actually respond to. That's what makes your version breathe, while their version just exists. That's the difference between a living thing and a photograph of a living thing. Let me break this down further because you need to understand the full scope of their failure. When someone copies you, they're essentially taking a snapshot of your exterior at one moment in time. They're grabbing the frozen surface while you continue to evolve beneath it. They capture what you were, not what you're becoming. They steal your yesterday while you're busy creating tomorrow. So by the time they've finished replicating your old work, you've already moved into territory they can't even see yet. They're always behind, always chasing, always trying to catch up to a version of you that no longer exists. And the harder they try to close the gap, the more obvious it becomes that they're following, not leading, that they're reacting, not creating, that they need you to make the next move before they know what to do. Without you to copy, they're paralyzed. Without your innovations to steal, they're creatively bankrupt. They've built their entire operation on the assumption that you'll keep producing things for them to take. And that dependency, that pathetic reliance on your continued output, that's their fatal flaw. But here's where it gets really interesting. Here's where karma starts doing that thing karma does when you've been patient enough to let it work. The people they're trying to impress, the audience they're trying to capture, they can feel the difference. Maybe not consciously, maybe not in ways they can articulate, but something in them responds differently to the original than to the copy. Something in them recognizes authenticity even when they can't define it. Something in them gravitates toward the source even when the imitation is technically flawless. You've seen it happen. People encounter the copycat version first, engage with it briefly, feel vaguely unsatisfied without knowing why, and then eventually, inevitably find their way to you, to the real thing, to the origin point they didn't know they were searching for. And when they find you, something clicks, something settles, something in them says, this is what I was looking for. This is what the other thing was trying to be but couldn't quite manage. The copycats are actually doing you a favor. They're warming up your audience. They're creating demand for authenticity by flooding the market with imitations that leave people hungry for the real thing. They're advertising your existence through their inadequacy. Every hollow version they produce is a signpost pointing back to you. Every failed attempt to replicate your magic is a reminder that magic can't be mass-produced. And the funniest part? They have no idea why they're failing. They've checked their work against yours 1,000 times. They've analyzed every visible component. They've hired consultants and experts and specialists to figure out what they're missing. They've thrown money at the problem. They've rebranded and restructured and reorganized. They've done everything except the one thing that would actually help, which is to stop copying and start creating from their own authentic core. But they can't do that. They don't have an authentic core. They hollowed it out years ago in favor of strategic positioning and market analysis. They sacrificed their soul at the altar of optimization, and now they're trying to build a cathedral with no foundation. You want to know what the secret ingredient really is when you strip away all the mysticism and get down to the raw mechanics of it. It's the willingness to be destroyed by your own vision. It's the capacity to let something matter so much to you that it could break you if it failed. It's emotional investment that can't be faked, passion that can't be performed, desperation that can't be manufactured for market purposes. When you built what you built, you weren't thinking about what would sell. You weren't calculating engagement metrics. You weren't focus grouping your authenticity. You were bleeding onto the canvas because you had no other choice. You were screaming into the void because staying silent would have killed you. You were creating like your life depended on it because in some very real sense it did. And that life or death energy, that existential urgency, that do or die commitment, it lives in everything you make. It pulses through your work like a heartbeat, and people feel it. They feel that they're encountering something that was born from necessity rather than strategy. Something that exists because it had to exist, not because someone thought it would be profitable. The copycat doesn't have that. The copycat looked at your finished product and said, I could do that. But they couldn't, because doing that required being you, becoming you, living through what you lived through, carrying what you carry. And they don't have the stomach for that journey. They want the destination without the voyage. They want the medal without the marathon. They want to download your accomplishments without uploading your suffering. And the universe doesn't work that way. So they built their replica. And it looked right. And it sounded right. And on paper, it should have worked exactly the same way yours does. But something's missing. Something's off. Something essential has been left out, and they can't find it because they don't know what they're looking for. They're searching the blueprint for a component that was never written down. They're trying to reverse engineer something that can't be engineered at all. They're attempting to calculate the incalculable, to measure the immeasurable, to counterfeit the uncounterfeitable. Let them keep trying. Let them exhaust themselves chasing a ghost they'll never catch. Let them pour resources into perfecting their imitation while you continue evolving into something they won't be able to copy for another 2 years. By the time they figure out what you're doing now, you'll already be doing something else, something newer, something they'll need another 2 years to decode. You're not just ahead of them, you're operating in a different dimension entirely, one they can observe but never inhabit. And here's the truth that should let you sleep beautifully tonight. Their theft was actually a compliment, the highest compliment available in this economy of attention and innovation. They looked at the entire landscape of possibilities, all the things they could have created, all the directions they could have taken, and they decided that copying you was their best option. They admitted through their actions that they couldn't do better than what you'd already done. They confessed without words that your vision was superior to anything they could generate on their own. They crowned you without meaning to. They declared you the standard by trying to make you the template. So wear that crown. Not with arrogance, but with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their position is secure. Not because you're protecting it, but because it can't be taken. What you have isn't a possession that can be stolen. It's a state of being that can only be achieved through the specific path you walked. And that path is yours alone. No one else can walk it. No one else has walked it. No one else ever will. They can steal your words, but they can't steal your voice. They can copy your style, but they can't copy your substance. They can replicate your methods, but they can't replicate your meaning. The secret ingredient isn't something you add to the recipe. It's the cook. It's you. And you're the one thing they can never take. Now watch them. Watch them scramble. Watch them pivot and rebrand and try new angles. Watch them hire people who they think can capture your lightning in their corporate bottles. Watch them study you like you're a problem to be solved rather than a person to be respected. Watch them miss the point over and over again, getting more frustrated with each failure, more desperate with each flop, more convinced that there must be something you're hiding, some trick you're not revealing, some secret technique they haven't discovered yet. There's no trick. There's no hidden technique. There's just you, your history, your pain, your survival, your refusal to be broken, your insistence on creating even when no one was watching, your commitment to authenticity even when inauthenticity would have been easier and more profitable. That's the secret ingredient. And it's not something you can teach them even if you wanted to. It's not something they can learn even if they tried. It's something you became through a process they'll never voluntarily undergo. So let them copy. Let them steal. Let them build their empire of imitations. You'll still be here when it all falls down. You'll still be creating when they've moved on to copying someone else. You'll still be the source, the origin, the wellspring they keep returning to without admitting that's what they're doing. The blueprint was never the point. You are, and that's something they'll never be able to reproduce.
You thought loyalty meant something, didn't you? You thought that standing by people, no matter what, would earn you the same in return. That if you stayed true, if you kept your word, if you showed up every single time, they'd look at you and see real. But here's the truth they never tell you. Loyalty isn't a virtue anymore. It's bait. You thought loyalty would build bridges. It built cages. You chained yourself to people who would have let you drown just to stay dry. You swore allegiance to ghosts and they left you in the dark. You called it being there for them. They called it convenient. You kept showing up, and every time you did, they learned they could get away with more. That no matter how far they pushed, you'd still be there, smiling, forgiving, loyal to a fault. But loyalty, my friend, was the lesson, and they ignored it. See, you thought being loyal made you strong, but to them, it made you predictable. They saw your loyalty not as love, but as leverage. Every promise you kept became another chain they wrapped around your neck. You thought they saw your heart. They saw a hostage. You told yourself, it's okay. People make mistakes. They'll realize my worth one day, but they didn't. They won't because they never had to. They learned that no matter how deep they cut, you'd be there to bleed for them again. You called it loyalty. They called it control. Let me tell you something ugly. The world doesn't reward the loyal. It rewards the loud, the cold, the ones who walk away without blinking. You bled for people who wouldn't even flinch if it was you on the ground. You stood in their corner while they tore yours apart. You were loyal to people who were only loyal to their needs. They didn't love you. They loved what you could do for them. And the moment you stopped serving their comfort, they labeled you selfish. That's what loyalty gets you. A knife in the back from the people you'd die for. You thought they'd learn something from your devotion, that maybe your consistency would wake something up in them. But they didn't learn. They didn't even listen, because they never saw you as equal. You were the constant, and constants are taken for granted. Let's be honest. You saw the signs, the excuses, the lies, the distance, but your heart kept saying, stay. Maybe this time it'll be different, so you stayed. You stayed when they forgot you. You stayed when they used you. You stayed even when you stopped recognizing the person staring back in the mirror. And for what? For the hope that maybe one day they'd see what you were worth? They won't, because they already saw it. They just didn't care. They saw your loyalty as weakness, not wisdom. They saw your consistency as desperation, not commitment. And the cruelest part, they knew you'd never leave. Here's the real kicker. They didn't just fail you, they chose to. Every time they lied, every time they betrayed, they made a choice. They chose themselves. They chose comfort. They chose easy. They chose not you. And still, you defended them. You covered for them. You made excuses like it was your job. You said, they're just lost. Number. They weren't lost. They were just fine letting you be because your loyalty made it easy. You were the safety net, the backup plan, they'll always be there for me friend, lover, supporter. But tell me, who was there for you? You see, loyalty only works when it's mutual, when both sides fight for it, when both hearts bleed the same color. But what you had was slavery dressed as love. You called it devotion. It was self-destruction. You were burning just to keep their world warm. And when you finally turned to ash, they didn't even notice. You thought loyalty would save them, but loyalty doesn't save people. It exposes them. It shows you who they really are when they know they can't lose you. And they showed you, didn't they? Who they were when they thought you'd never walk away. They took your loyalty, wrung it dry, and left you hollow. But let me tell you something. That loyalty, the same one they ignored, isn't your weakness. It's your crown. They just weren't worthy to wear it. You see, the problem wasn't that you were too loyal. It's that you gave it to people who didn't deserve it. You handed your loyalty to the unfaithful, your heart to the ungrateful, your soul to the undeserving. And now you think you've lost everything, but you haven't. You've just shed the ones who couldn't carry your truth. They failed the lesson. You didn't. You were the test, the mirror that revealed who they really were. They looked in it and turned away because loyalty exposes cowards. And they were cowards, scared of someone who wouldn't quit on them, scared of someone who stayed, because staying meant they had to face their own reflection. But now you've seen it too, and that's your freedom. See, loyalty without boundaries isn't love, it's loss, and you've lost enough. Don't get me wrong, I'm not telling you to become bitter. I'm telling you to become wise, to recognize the difference between loyalty and self-sacrifice, between devotion and delusion, between standing by someone and standing in your own grave. The next time someone asks for your loyalty, watch their actions, not their words. See if they'd stand in the fire with you or if they'd use you as kindling. Because the truth is, loyalty is rare, but betrayal, that's everywhere. So stop chasing people who ran the moment you stumbled. Stop begging them to value what they already threw away. Stop teaching lessons to those who refuse to learn. You gave them the ultimate gift, your faith, your trust, your unwavering loyalty. And they wasted it. Let that be their curse. You're not weak for staying. You were strong enough to love in a world that feeds on selfishness. But now it's time to evolve. Now it's time to show them what happens when loyalty turns to logic. Because when you finally stop showing up, that's when they'll panic. That's when they'll realize the weight of your presence, the silence of your absence. But by then, it'll be too late. You'll have learned what they refuse to. That loyalty isn't proven by staying. It's proven by knowing when to leave. And when they come crawling back, because they will, when they finally realize that no one else will ever love them like you did, no one else will stand by them like you did, don't answer the door. Let them stand outside in the storm they created because they ignored the lesson once. Let them live with the failure. You don't owe them closure. You don't owe them comfort. You don't owe them your loyalty twice. They failed their test. They ignored their lesson. And now they live with the consequences. So what happens next? You rebuild. You rise. You stop being the soldier in someone else's war. You start fighting for yourself. Loyalty doesn't mean self-destruction. It means self-respect. It means giving what's earned, not what's demanded. It means never again pouring your soul into empty hands. Because from this moment on, you don't beg to be chosen. You choose yourself. And that, my friend, is how the loyal finally win. Not by being cold, not by being cruel, but by finally realizing your loyalty was their lesson and they ignored it. Now let them live without it forever. So you walked away, and for the first time, they didn't believe it, because loyalty was your language and silence was never your weapon. Until now. You see, the day you stopped answering their calls wasn't revenge. It was closure. It was the sound of chains hitting the floor. They didn't understand it at first, did they? They thought you'd come back like always. They thought you'd cave like always, because people like them don't fear losing you. They fear losing control of you. But this time, you didn't flinch. You didn't explain. You didn't beg to be understood. And that silence That silence screamed louder than all the loyalty you ever gave. See, when you were loyal, they were comfortable. Now that you're gone, they're haunted. Every morning they wake up to the echo of your absence. Every night they scroll through memories looking for a version of you that still cares. But that version is dead. You killed it the day you realized loyalty means nothing to those who trade truth for convenience. You killed it when you stopped apologizing for being real. They ignored the lesson. And now, the test has a new question. Can they live without what they took for granted? Spoiler alert, they can't. They'll pretend they can, of course. They'll post, they'll laugh, they'll act fine. But when the crowd fades and the noise dies down, the guilt crawls back in because loyalty doesn't vanish. It lingers. It sits in their throat when they lie to themselves. It whispers in their ear when they think of you. It reminds them of the one person who never gave up on them until you did. They thought loyalty was infinite. They thought you'd never run dry. But even oceans have limits. Even loyalty has tides, and yours finally went out. Don't mistake this moment for bitterness. This isn't revenge. This is evolution, because loyalty, when misplaced, is a slow death. And you, my friend, finally chose to live. You stopped setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. You stopped kneeling for people who never learned to stand beside you. You stopped loving people who thought loyalty meant servitude. And that's when you became dangerous, because the most terrifying version of a loyal soul is the one who learns to be loyal to themselves. They'll say you've changed. They'll call you cold. They'll say you're not the same. And they're right, because loyalty forged in betrayal doesn't come back soft. It comes back sharp. You learn that trust is earned, not assumed. That presence doesn't equal love. That silence doesn't mean weakness. It means power. And now you walk different. You talk different. You move like someone who knows their worth, because you do. You were loyal to people who wouldn't even stand still for you. And now they'll watch you rise from a distance and call it luck. But it's not luck, it's liberation. Ah, look at you, still fighting ghosts inside your own head, aren't you? You think you're strong because you've survived all this pain. But tell me, have you controlled it? Or has it been controlling you this whole time? You wear your anger like armor, your sadness like a badge. You think feeling deeply makes you powerful, that it makes you real. But deep down, you know the truth. It's not power, it's prison. And the chains, they're your emotions. They whisper to you in the dark. Rage, fear, despair, telling you how to act, what to say, when to break, and you obey them. You obey them every single time. You shout when they tell you to. You cry when they demand it. You destroy things when they whisper, do it. And then you sit there wondering why your life feels like chaos. But you already know why. You've handed the steering wheel to your emotions, and they've been driving you straight into the fire. Funny, isn't it? How something that lives inside you can ruin everything outside you. But here's the thing, that chaos, that storm inside you, it's not your enemy. It's your weapon. You've just never learned how to wield it. Listen carefully, kid. Emotions are wild animals. They bite, they scratch, they tear. But if you learn to tame them, if you learn to make them obey you, you become something else, something dangerous, something unstoppable. You think the world cares about your tears, your rage, your heartbreak. No, it doesn't. The world respects one thing and one thing only: control. You want to know why you keep losing, because you keep reacting. reacting. You let every insult, every setback, every disappointment pull your strings like a puppet. Someone says something, you explode. Someone ignores you, you crumble. A plan fails, you spiral. Pathetic. You call that strength. That's weakness dressed as passion. But here's the good news. Weakness can be reforged. It can be disciplined. Stop thinking your emotions make you human. No, what makes you human is your ability to master them. Anger is fire. It burns everything unless you learn to contain it. Fear is a weapon. It protects you unless you let it paralyze you. Sadness is weight. It grounds you unless you let it drown you. See, emotions are never the problem. Your lack of control is. Every time you lose yourself to rage, every time you fall apart because of pain, you give away your power. And power, once given, doesn't come back easily. You want control. Then learn to be still when your emotions scream at you. Learn to stand tall when everything inside wants to collapse. Learn to smile while your world burns, because that's real power. Let me tell you something nobody wants to hear. You will never get rid of your emotions. You'll never escape pain or fear or sadness, but you can bend them. You can shape them. You can own them. The ones who win in this world aren't the ones who feel less. They're the ones who feel everything and still stay in control. You think warriors don't feel fear? You think leaders don't feel doubt? You think the strong don't cry when the doors are closed? They do. They just don't let those emotions decide their actions. That's the difference between the weak and the powerful. The weak let emotions make choices. The strong use emotions as fuel. Imagine this. Someone betrays you. The old you, the emotional you, would rage, scream, break things, spiral into self-pity. But the new you go silent, cold. You take that betrayal and you forge it into focus. You don't waste time proving a point. You become the point. That's control. That's dominance. And the world won't know what to do with you once you reach that level. They'll provoke you, test you, try to break you, and you'll just look back, calm, collected, dangerous. Because once you can't be controlled by emotions, no one can control you at all. But don't get it twisted. This isn't easy. Control comes with pain. You're going to have to kill parts of yourself, the weak parts that crave validation, the parts that break at rejection, the parts that feed off sympathy. You'll have to silence them. They'll scream as they die, but when the noise fades, what's left is clarity. You'll see the world as it really is, cruel, cold, indifferent. And for the first time, that won't scare you. It'll liberate you, because once you stop needing the world to care, you become unstoppable. Everybody says, follow your heart. No, control your heart. Follow your mind. Your heart will lead you into fire. Your emotions will tell you to jump. Your discipline will tell you when. Listen to the second voice. That's the one that keeps you alive. When the anger comes, don't fight it, observe it. When sadness hits, don't drown, study it. When fear whispers, don't run, listen. Then decide what to do, not react, decide. That's what separates animals from masters. Reaction is primal, control is divine. You'll lose people on this path. They'll call you cold. They'll say you've changed. They'll say you've become heartless. Let them talk. You don't need their validation. You need victory. And once they see what control has turned you into, they'll understand. Not because you explained it, but because they'll feel it. They'll feel the power in your calm, the danger in your silence, the authority in your eyes. Because the truth is, control doesn't make you emotionless. It makes you untouchable. And here's the real twist. When you finally control your emotions, you'll start to feel more, not less. The difference is, those feelings won't drown you anymore. You'll choose when to feel them. You'll choose how long they stay. You'll choose when to let them go. That's freedom. That's mastery. Yeah, look at the world around you. It's built on emotional slaves, people controlled by fear, by anger, by greed, by pain. You'll be different because you'll see emotions for what they really are, tools. You'll sharpen them, you'll wield them, you'll use them to carve your destiny while everyone else keeps bleeding from their own. But don't mistake control for suppression. Control doesn't mean silence, it means command. You don't hide your emotions, you command them. You tell them when to move, when to rest, when to strike. You'll learn to use anger for drive, sadness for reflection, fear for preparation. That's the art of mastery. And once you master that, once you can command chaos without letting it consume you, you'll be feared, respected, unstoppable. But here's the final truth, kid. This path, it's not for everyone. Most people would rather drown in their emotions than control them. Because control takes strength, and strength comes from pain. You'll have to face yourself, your real self, stripped of excuses, stripped of comfort. You'll have to rebuild from the ground up, using pain as your foundation. But when you do, you'll be unshakable, untouchable, unbreakable. You'll walk through storms calm as a whisper. You'll stand in chaos and smile, and the world will look at you, confused, terrified, in awe, because they'll never understand how you can be so calm in the fire. But you'll know that the fire doesn't burn you anymore, because you became it. So here's your choice. Keep letting your emotions control you. Keep letting them pull your strings, break your focus, ruin your peace, or take control, own them, command them. Because at the end of the day, it's not about killing your emotions. It's about mastering them. It's about turning every ounce of pain, anger, and fear into fuel. And when you do that, when you truly master yourself, the world won't stand a chance. Control your emotions before they control you. Because once you do, once you truly do, you won't just survive this world. You'll own it. And that's when the fun really begins. So you've learned to hold it together, huh? You felt the fire, the rage, the sadness. And for the first time, you didn't flinch. You didn't break. You stood there, watching your emotions scream inside you like caged beasts. And for a moment, you thought you'd won. But control isn't a moment. It's a war, and the enemy lives inside your head. See, emotions don't die when you master them. They hide. They wait. They whisper in the dark when you're tired, when you're alone, when your guard slips. And if you're not careful, they'll crawl back into the driver's seat before you even realize it. You think you've escaped anger? Wait until someone betrays you. You think you've killed fear? Wait until the future goes dark. You think you've mastered pain? Wait until life rips something you love away. Then you'll see control isn't something you claim once. It's something you fight for every single day. Because the truth is, control isn't peace. It's pressure. Constant, deliberate pressure on the chaos inside you. You can't relax. You can't slip. Because the moment you do, those old emotions, the ones you thought you buried, they come crawling back. They'll whisper, "You've changed too much. You've become cold. You've lost your humanity." Don't listen. That's not your conscience talking. That's weakness begging for a second chance. You see, control isn't about killing your emotions. It's about starving the ones that keep you small. Fear wants to feed on your hesitation. Anger wants to feed on your pride. Sadness wants to feed on your self-pity. Starve them. Let them wither. Because the moment you feed them, they grow teeth again. Funny, isn't it? How people can smile right in your face while sharpening the knife behind their back. How they can laugh with you, break bread with you, call you family, and still play you like it's some twisted game. You ever sit there replaying every conversation, every "I got you," every "trust me," and realize it was all part of the performance? They played you once, never again. See, that's the thing about manipulation. It doesn't come dressed like evil. Nah, it comes wearing charm, a familiar voice, a warm hand. It walks in like a friend and leaves like a thief. They studied you, didn't they? Learned your habits, your hopes, your fears, found the cracks in your armor and smiled while they pushed their fingers in. They called it connection. You called it love, but it was strategy, a game, and you were the prize. You know what's worse than being lied to? Believing it. Not because you're stupid, but because you're genuine, because you assume people mean what they say, because you've still got that rare disease, honesty, but not anymore. That illness got cured the hard way. They played you once. You didn't see it coming. You wanted to. Your gut whispered, but your heart said, give them a chance. You always give chances, don't you? You see potential where there's poison. You confuse consistency with care. You thought loyalty meant something. You thought showing up would make them stay. You thought loving right would make them play fair. But that's the problem with people who play games. They don't want love. They want control. And when you stopped being easy to control, you became the villain in their story. You ever notice how they twist it? How suddenly you're cold, you changed, heartless, number. You just learned the rules. You stopped being the entertainment. You stopped giving them reactions to feed their ego. They wanted to win, not your heart, but your attention. And the moment you pulled that away, the game ended. Silence. That's your new move now. No texts, no explanations, no second rounds. You watch, you learn, you disappear, because the most dangerous player is the one who stops playing. You see, the first time they played you, you were innocent. You believed that people played games because they were hurt. You wanted to fix them. You thought if you loved them enough, they'd stop lying. If you showed them loyalty, they'd stop testing you. But that's not how it works. Some people don't play because they're hurt. They play because it makes them feel powerful, because your kindness reminds them of everything they're not. You ever been in a room with someone pretending to care? You can feel it, can't you? That shift in their energy, that invisible distance. Their words still sound sweet, but their eyes, cold. You start questioning yourself, thinking you're paranoid. You're not. You just finally see it. That's the part they don't tell you about healing. It makes you see the game clearly. Every move, every manipulation, every fake apology dressed as peace. And you don't get angry anymore. You get quiet because you realize the best revenge isn't exposing them. It's letting them lose access. They played you once. You were the open book. You told them everything. Your past, your pain, your dreams. You gave them the blueprint to your heart, and they used it to build your downfall. But the sequel, it's different. This time, you keep your peace private. You keep your plans silent. You keep your heart guarded like a fortress. Because once you learn how easily love can be weaponized, you start watching hands more than lips. You don't hate them. Hate takes energy. You've got better things to build now. You're too busy turning lessons into legacy, too busy becoming the kind of person they could never play again. That's what scares them. Not your anger, not your words, your indifference. They'll test it, They always do. They'll circle back with, "Hey, stranger," with, "I miss how we used to be." They'll talk about closure, about peace. But peace isn't found in old chaos. And closure? Closure's just their way of reopening the door. Don't answer. They don't want forgiveness. They want access. You ever realize that the same people who broke your trust are the ones who can't stand to see you calm? Because your silence is proof that their game failed. You're not bitter. You're better. You're not broken. You're built. And that terrifies them. They can't manipulate what no longer needs validation. You used to explain yourself, didn't you? You used to overthink every text, every tone, every misunderstanding. Now, you just let people misunderstand because peace costs silence and silence costs connection. And that's a price you're willing to pay. They played you once. You don't warn people now. You watch. You don't argue. You observe. You don't chase. You choose. Because when you've been used as a pawn once, you learn how to move like a king. Let me tell you something cold, something true. The most dangerous version of you isn't the loud one. It's the one that smiles quietly after being betrayed. It's the one that no longer seeks revenge, because revenge would mean they still matter. You're beyond that now. You don't want to hurt them. You want to outgrow them. The old you wanted closure. The new you just wants distance. People talk about healing like it's soft, like it's candles and therapy quotes. Nah, healing is raw. It's ugly. It's crying one night and building an empire the next. It's deleting the message you'll never send. It's learning that maybe they'll change is just the first line of every tragedy. It's realizing you can't teach loyalty to those who profit from your pain. You're not paranoid now. You're prepared. You don't see everyone as bad, just not worth proving yourself to. You've stopped auditioning for roles in other people's stories. You're writing your own script, and when they hear about you, and they will, they'll call it luck. They'll call it ego. They'll never admit it was karma, but deep down, they'll know. They'll remember the moment they played you. They'll remember the look in your eyes when you realized it, and they'll know that was the last time, because now you walk different. You move in silence, build in shadows, love with boundaries. You don't beg to be seen. You disappear and let your growth do the talking. You don't defend your name. You let results speak louder. You don't explain your absence. You let the echo of your peace say it all. They played you once. You thought losing them was pain, but losing them was peace. You thought walking away was weakness, but walking away was rebirth. They'll never understand how the same silence they used to punish you became your armor. How the same heart they took for granted became untouchable. You see, players don't stop playing. They just run out of opponents, and you're no longer in the game. So let them talk, let them watch, let them wonder how the person they once toyed with became the one they can't reach. Let them feel the weight of their loss every time they scroll through the ghost of your presence. You don't owe them hate. You don't owe them words. You don't owe them closure. You owe yourself peace. And peace, real peace, is walking past the past without a flinch. It's smiling at memories that used to hurt. It's knowing they'll never get another chance to play you again. Because this time you see it all clearly, the masks, the manipulation, the motives, and you just nod, quiet, unbothered. They played you once, but never again. You know what's funny? After you stop playing their game, they start acting like you changed, like you're the problem now. They call you different, cold, distant. But that's not distance, sweetheart. That's peace. That's what peace looks like to people who were addicted to your chaos. See, the thing about walking away from manipulators is they don't miss you. They miss control. They miss having someone who believed their lies, who explained themselves after every guilt trip. They miss the version of you that didn't see through the act. But you see everything now. You learned their language. You know the smirk that hides guilt, the text that sounds caring but smells like manipulation. You know the tone they use when they're trying to pull you back into the game. They played you once, and you turned that pain into fluency. Because once you understand the game, you stop being a piece. You start playing chess, not checkers. You move quiet, strategic, detached. You don't react to disrespect anymore. You price it. Every insult, every manipulation, it costs them access. You don't yell, you don't chase, you don't explain. You remove, you subtract, you erase without noise. That's how real power operates, in silence. They don't understand that, though. They're used to noise, drama, chaos, attention. They feed on reactions. When you stop giving that, they starve. And nothing terrifies a manipulator more than silence, because silence says, I see you, and I don't care anymore. You ever notice how peace feels uncomfortable at first? You sit alone, no calls, no messages, no what's wrong texts, and your brain starts panicking. It's addicted to the drama, addicted to proving your worth to people who already made up their minds. But after a while, the quiet starts feeling like freedom. You stop waiting for their apology. You stop checking who's watching your stories. You stop caring who left. You realize the world doesn't end when fake people disappear. It begins.